every time. Hi, Nikki. I don't know why I laugh at the beginning of these episodes. I really don't. It just pops up.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Nikki. Good morning.
Hello.
Uh, um, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to jump into a hypothetical situation.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Nikkie Freeman. I'm the founder of Flywheel CMO. I'm a fractional CMO. Have 30 years of business experience. The first half of my career I spent in data and analytics, and then expanded into sales and marketing. So a lot of how I differentiate myself in the market is that I bring that analytics skill set, and everything I do is data driven.
Okay, so here's scenario one, and then we'll switch over to Shannon very quickly. So it's day one. You've signed a new client. We'll pretend that you actually go to their place, on day one, not virtual. You show up, and you've been brought on as fractional CMO. Let's say it's like a 1-year engagement, which can be kind of long for fractional CMOs right out of the gate. But what's sort of the best case scenario, or can you tell me the sort of nightmare scenario as you walk in? It's like, oh, they didn't tell me about that. Like, what's the best or worst case when you walk in on day one and you look, sort of survey the landscape, you look at who else is already there working in marketing, executive team, whatever.
Yeah, I think the best case scenario is they have at least one person that's full-time doing a marketing role internally. And they have a CEO or board or president that is willing to invest for growth. So they recognize that they've hit an inflection point in their business where
Right.
they need to do more than they've done in the past in order to grow. And so they understand that there's investment. I think worst case scenario is they don't have a goal. They expect to not really have to spend much, and are, not willing to invest at least, say, 1% of revenue in their marketing.
Okay, fair enough. And Shannon, hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
So Shannon, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to ask you the same question about nightmare or best case.
Sure. I founded Dream Local Digital, which is a digital marketing agency, 16 years ago, and we have helped 75,000 businesses nationwide. Prior to that, I was in a lot of internet startups. So I bring a lot of business experience and growth experience, as well as the marketing team when I work with clients.
And so when you start an engagement with a new client, what's the worst case possible scenario, or what's the best?
Yeah, so I think, similar to what Nikki said, I think, a focus on growth and some goals are really ideal. And at least one person who's interested in marketing and ready to help is important, I think, for a great, a good scenario. On the bad scenario, one of the things that I often find challenging is if they have no metrics or understanding at all of what they're doing.
Right.
Because then I spend a lot of time in education mode versus action mode where we're driving results.
Okay. So, Shannon, I'm going to stay with you for a second, and then we'll switch back to Nikki. So, Shannon, you're new hypothetical. You're on stage. You're the speaker. There are 250 people in the audience. Every one of them became a fractional CMO yesterday. Fresh baked, right? Fresh out of corporate. I'm going to start a sentence, and you finish it for me. Take as long as you want, okay?
Sure.
I can tell you guys, as fractional CMOs and new fractional CMOs, the thing that you're going to be most shocked by is
a client's lack of appreciation or understanding of how marketing really works.
Don't listen to Shannon. All clients cherish their fractional CMOs and all their marketing people. Don't listen to her. Don't be turned off. Go ahead. Keep going.
Right. I think it's, a great example is, we'll have clients that have no email list or very little organic traffic. And we'll talk about, we need to build top of funnel. We need to bring in some people in, and they'll say, absolutely. And then at the end of the month, be like, where are my leads? So I think really the understanding or appreciation of the process and the stages of bringing people in and recognizing the value in those Although I don't mind saying, like, we need to show ROI on sales as well quickly, but it's how it all comes, that you don't just buy leads instantly every time is pretty much my focus. Yeah.
And Nikki, you're talking to this group and you're telling them, guys, congratulations on your escape from corporate. Welcome to the world of fractional CMOs. Been there at the beginning. You're going to be most shocked by what?
I think the challenge of, typically you're going to have 3, 4, 5, if you're solo, 3, 4, 5 clients at a time in different industries with different clients that have different problems and different messaging. And really, you are kind of fulfilling a full-time CMO role, but on a fractional basis. So you're not going to create a fraction of a marketing strategy, right? You're going to create an entire marketing strategy with a full-fledged plan of how you're going to execute it, and then manage and oversee the execution of that. But you have to do it in a condensed time frame. So you have to be very intentional with your time and how you're spending your time and being efficient. I really enjoy that challenge. That's why I continue to do what I do. My entire career, I've done project-based work. And so this is what I thrive on. But I think when you're new coming into fractional, you may not understand how challenging that really can be to try to juggle 3 or 4 different industries and marketing strategies all at the same time.
And then, so Nikki, let's finish this thought for the same audience. Okay, it's like, and one thing I can tell you guys is that many clients just don't understand what.
I think just don't understand that marketing really is a force multiplier for your business. I think they see it as a set of activities, and that set of activities, because look, if you're a really good marketer, what you do looks really, really easy. And so from the outside, it looks like, oh, I just need somebody to do some social media posts and write a blog and send out a monthly e-newsletter. But really, if you have a good marketing strategy, it's tied directly to revenue goals, and it's being tracked and it's measured and it's strategic, and it's going to help you achieve your longer term vision for the organization. So I think understanding that's an integral part of the overall business and your strategy and hitting your growth goals versus a set of kind of random activities.
Okay. And then, okay. So you sparked the thought. I'm going to get back to it in a second. Okay. But Shannon, to sort of like backfill on that, you talked about it in a little bit in an answer, but what is it many clients just don't understand? It seemed like one thing clients didn't, Shannon, from your answer, is they don't understand that you don't get to put nothing in but get something out.
Yeah. The early stage activities will fuel results later.
Right.
I own a business as well. I can be impatient about revenue, just like the next guy. But I think understanding that those foundational elements fuel growth later is critical. And I couldn't agree more with Nikki in her statement that it's a force multiplier versus a set of activities. That's just a really great way to say it.
And talking to that audience, we're just trying to rush you off the stage and the music's coming up. But talking to that audience, the last thing you tell them is like, and one thing as fractional CMOs, one lesson I'd like to pass along to you guys is when it comes to getting clients, what?
When it comes to getting new clients, it's about showcasing your expertise and your ideas for their businesses and staying top of mind with them.
And Nikki, what do you think? When it comes to getting clients, what lesson can you pass along to these new people?
For me, my most effective source of new clients has been through my network. All of my business has been referred, which is a compliment to me. I don't take that lightly at all. And so I invest in those relationships, but also spend time working on my business versus in my business. And doing that is expanding my network and meeting lots of other bright professionals. And by the same token, I have referred other fractionals and other disciplines into my clients, because often you go into a company and you start to kind of look behind the curtain, and not only do they need marketing help, but they might need help in finance or in operations or in HR. And so I have a very strong network of fractionals in multiple disciplines that we can help each other out in when we have clients that need help in those areas.
And Nikki, so let's get you off stage. And so you talk to a lot of prospective clients, you talk to a lot of clients, you talk to a lot of companies. In marketing, when people talk to you, clients, prospects talk to you about marketing, what do they talk about that you think is overrated? And what do they not talk about that you think is underrated and that people or companies would benefit from?
I think what they talk about that it's overrated is what I call the shiny object syndrome. So some new tool comes out or some new process in marketing, and look, marketers are very good at what they do. So they're going to sell you on, you have a problem, you've not been able to solve the problem. This is the thing that you need. This is your silver bullet. And so they chase that thing and they think that's going to, be the one thing that helps them solve the problem. I think what's underrated is the fact that there's multiple tactics that need to happen in order to get in front of your audience in multiple ways, in different channels. And there's a whole journey that you've got to lead them through. There's not one silver bullet. And so while it's not really necessarily sexy to just, execute and be consistent on a lot of different tactics, it really is the thing that works. And it's why I've named my business Flywheel, because if you keep pushing and keep doing and have the patience, it's just like diet and exercise. If you're going to get fit, you wish there was a magic pill. And I guess these days, sometimes there are, but really what's most effective is you have to just be consistent with diet and exercise. And it's the same with marketing. If you're going to be really successful, you have to be consistent and not quit and not chase shiny objects, because those are distractions that will throw you off your growth game.
And Shannon, when you're talking to people, what's overrated and what's underrated or criminally underappreciated these days?
I find that I totally agree on the shiny object syndrome. I think right now, what's overrated a bit is paid advertising alone versus a multi-tactic strategy that supports that and conversions. And I think what's underrated is really understanding at a deep level what your customers think about you, want, and are motivated by, to find real opportunity. I have a really hard time getting a lot of customers to talk to, or clients to talk to their customers or do surveys. And I think when we really listen to the sales team and what they're hearing, and to the customers and potential customers, there's always gems in there that we can improve upon.
I'm just going to point out that modern marketing is about 100 years old, and everything you guys said could have been said 100 years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the most fundamental, right? Okay, so this is either going to be the easiest question, Shannon, or the hardest. What's marketing?
I think marketing is a series of activities and strategies to fuel growth in your business.
And Nikki, what the hell is marketing?
I 100% agree with Shannon. And I would add to that, it's educating potential customers and leading them through a journey of what it is you provide and why they need your product or service, and then helping to convert them to loyal clients.
That's pretty good. Okay, so Nikki, as you're talking to prospective customers, you're talking to companies, talking to execs, talking to CEOs, and in your mind, you're sort of evaluating, right? Is this going to be a good fit for me? Would this company be a good fit for literally any fractional CMO? Right? What are the red flags, or what's a red flag and a green flag when you're talking to someone and thinking, okay, got it?
I think a red flag for me is if they start trying to kind of nickel and dime, if they're really focused on spending the least amount of money that they can spend, you mentioned making an investment in marketing of even I can start as low as 1% of revenue, and they kind of balk at that, then that's a red flag. I've also gone into prospective clients and asked, okay, that's always part of the first question is, what are your business goals? even just for the next 12 months. What are you trying to achieve? Do you have a revenue goal? And if it's, I don't have a goal, we just want to grow revenue, then that's a red flag as well. It's going to be hard for me to tie a strategy to something if we don't have a goal to tie it to. I think green flags are those companies. I work with a lot of founders of lower to middle market B2B companies. And so it's those that understand, I really do need marketing. I know I need to make an investment. That's why I've reached out to you as a fractional CMO, because I don't know where to start. And I know I need help and I need some executive leadership. I just don't have the budget for a full-time CMO. And so I've had those clients before where they recognize, and it's, part of my upfront questioning as well, are you willing to invest? How much are you willing to invest to achieve what you're trying to achieve? And if it's, little to nothing, then that's going to be a red flag. If they're, no, I'm ready to invest, this is the next step, and I need to get to my next revenue goal, then that is a green flag for me.
And Shannon, how about you? What's a green flag and what's a red flag when you're talking to a prospective customer?
Yeah, many of the same as Nikki mentioned. Some additional red flags, for example, would be heavy turnover in the marketing area at any level. Would indicate there's a challenge there that I should be thinking about. A lack of commitment to time. If, when I hear from a founder that they need results or they're looking for something in 90 days or less, I tend to think more tactics and less strategy, and I might not be the right fit, or my team might be a better fit than me, for example. Those are some things I think about in addition to sort of budget and goals, as Nikki mentioned. On the green side, I probe a lot for what does growth look like to you, or where do you see yourself in 5 years? And when they talk about their business growth in a way that is very motivating for them, then I know that I have an opportunity to be successful there.
Right.
And I also look for communication paths. Like, how do you see us working together? Can I have access to the sales team? Those items really help me feel like we've got a good situation.
Good answer. Also, I think you are this is episode 163, did I say? I think you might be the first person to ever mention a high turnover in a marketing department as a red flag or concern.
Great.
And I don't know why I never thought of that, but I should have. Okay.
Good.
Okay. So part of the weirdness of this podcast is that guests pick their own date and time, as long as it's a Thursday. And so like nobody, the guest mixture isn't curated, right? We had one episode one time where we had two fractional CMOs with a lot of overlap. They both worked in oil and gas. They both lived in Houston. Turns out they both lived a mile apart from each other, but it was completely random that it happens. Virtually, usually there's not much overlap at all. And so you're sort of like in a building full of fractional CMOs, and one of them gets on the elevator with you, and you're like, hi, I got a question. How about you? And so I'm going to let you guys ask each other a question since, as far as I know, you've never met or talked to each other before today. So we'll start with you, Shannon. Like, what question would you ask Nikki or any fractional CMO that you had just met who's, established and like you are, and, sort of like in the same sort of, era of the fractional CMO story arc?
Well, this is a great opportunity. I'll go back to something I mentioned in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When your client says they really understand and they're committed to, say, brand awareness or top of the funnel activity, but at the end of the month, they keep expecting high volumes of bottom of the funnel activity, how do you help manage expectations or illustrate the difference in the process?
Right. What I like to do is, so when I set a strategy and kind of the plan of tactics, how we're executing on that, I tie it to revenue. And then I also talk about what those leading indicators are going to be. So setting expectations up front, it's going to be a while before it gets to revenue, especially I work a lot in B2B. So there's a longer sales cycle often to that. And so understanding that we're going to see some, metrics that are top of funnel that are not revenue. but ultimately are going to lead to revenue. And if we start to see those moving in the right direction, then we know that we're having some momentum that ultimately is going to drive revenue. And you get to a point then over time when it starts to result in revenue where you can be more predictive in what you need to do in order to drive the amount of revenue, because now you have conversion rates at each stage of the funnel to help you be more predictive in when to expect things, what top of funnel metrics are going to lead to what kind of revenue. So I think that's setting those expectations and then measuring at each stage.
By the way, I love that term. When I was a young whippersnapper in corporate in IT consulting, I was doing work with KPMG, and the term manage expectations. And the sort of he wasn't like a senior partner in KPMG, but he was the senior person from KPMG for our team. And he's talking to me, and we're just sort of having coffee. And he says, "Yeah, and you're gonna have to manage your your clients' expectations around that." And I thought about it for a second, and then I had what might have been the best epiphany of my life. I thought to myself, I should ask him what that means. And I said, so like, what does manage expectations mean? He says, Dean, manage expectations is code for lower their expectations. And I have never come across a scenario where that has not been true.
Totally.
That's it, right? We don't say lower their expectations, though. We just say manage or set their expectations, but we really mean lower. Brad, I kind of miss you, bro. You're kind of fun to talk to. Okay. All right. So then they can go the other way. So Nikki, any question you want?
Sure. And this may be a common one that people are asking these days, but just how are you and your team leveraging AI in order to be more efficient in what you're doing?
We have an entire AI practice as part of our agency where we help other businesses leverage it in addition to us leveraging it ourselves. And I think the key thing is it is a tool for efficiency. It is not a tool to replace people. I find that now, in addition to creating brand strategies, brand guidelines, ideas about messaging and positioning, we're talking to the client about those things, and we're training AI models heavily on that client, their voice, their messaging. And that, I think, is a big part of the first multiple months of an engagement that we have with a client. It's about training the system to really understand them. Then we leverage it for things like headline optimization, conversion optimization of advertising. We use it for keyword exploration, in addition to our partnership with Google. And we use it in a variety of different ways to assist. We also have clients where we help them take the models that we've created for them and leverage them to create more content. But you have to really fact check it. It doesn't replace people, it speeds people up. And so we're leveraging it in a variety of different ways internally and on each individual client engagement.
Great.
All right, guys, this has been really great. Thank you for being here. As we wind down, Shannon, who should be reaching out to you these days, and how would you like them to do that?
I work with individual businesses on helping them with their marketing, but my agency powers other fractional CMOs or agencies if they need white label support for fulfillment. We're very predictable. We have 97% retention rates, and it's a lot easier than working with freelancers who haven't done a lot of this before. And they can find me at dreamlocal.com or me on LinkedIn.
And Nikki, how about you? Who should be reaching out to Nikki these days, and what's the best way to get to you?
Yeah, I think, I do a lot of business with small to mid-size B2B companies who are looking to grow. And so those are and I develop the marketing strategy, and then I outsource execution and also manage the internal team. So it sounds like Shannon and I need to connect offline.
Yes.
That would be great. And the way that they can reach out to me, LinkedIn is probably best. On LinkedIn, I'm Nikkie, and I have an E on the end of my name, so that's kind of unique. So Nikkie Freeman, And my website is flywheelcmo.com.
All right. Thanks you for being here, both of you, Nikki and Shannon. Thanks for watching, everybody. You're probably watching this as a clip, and you're not actually going to see my little outro here, so whatever. But we really appreciated you watching if you did. Thanks, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Shannon. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.